Before you watch this episode of our cityCURRENT radio show, I want to invite you to join cityCURRENT's e-learning and online personal development platform called GrowthCurrent. I'm Jeremy Park, host of the cityCURRENT radio show and CEO of cityCURRENT. GrowthCurrent is your exclusive ticket to attend virtual events with global thought leaders, national guest speakers, and experts who can help you grow personally and professionally. It gives you access to success secrets, lessons learned, learning modules, and so much more. Being online, you can join us from anywhere in the world. Subscriptions are only $8 a month, or you can do bulk subscriptions for your team. Check out growthcurrent.com to learn more and to join us in our efforts to power the good. And now, on to the show. Welcome to the cityCURRENT radio show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals, organizations, making a difference, powering the good in our community. And we're going to kick it off talking about the arts and the power of the arts to create transformation. We are joined by Ron Alley. He is the CEO and founder of Carpe Artista. How are you doing, Ron?
I'm doing great, Jeremy. Thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, we were talking off mic, but you're a part of another guest that will be on a little bit later with the Rutherford Arts Alliance. But give us a little bit, when you talk about Carpe Artista, give us a little bit of a history lesson, and let's start there, especially with you being the founder.
All right. Carpe Artista is a 9-year-old nonprofit, arts nonprofit. Our purpose statement is creating positive culture globally by developing local arts communities and creatives. So we do basically two things. We boil it down to: we do arts education, and then we also do community development through the arts. Under those two headings, we do multiples of things. We've brought a lot of vitality over the last 10 years with in our little town of Smyrna with our historic depot district, working with local government and bringing life back to the historic area and locating our little artist cafe in that area. And then also having another building and working with the town to bring all kinds of things regarding the arts into that area.
When you talk about the power of using the arts, from music and obviously the kind of the painting and art, theater, there's so many different directions. And when you talk about creating a physical space that's a gathering place, you're also creating economic opportunity, like you're mentioning. So
that's exactly
go ahead and carry that forward.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We've seen this space that was pretty much overlooked at the time, had the depot that hadn't been occupied in 30 years by the public, another building that hadn't been occupied in about 15 years. It was just passed through, okay? And we've literally over this last 10 years seen economic development begin to happen, and it become a destination spot and a place of pride actually for our local community here, for the town of Smyrna, with a new even music, outdoor music venue at the end of the depot, a new walking park that just opened this past week that'll be a connecting place for a new residential area. So the population density is actually coming back into that area. And it's becoming very attractive for new people potentially moving into an older area and making it their home because of the coolness of the art. I mean, it's very inviting.
Yeah, I'll never forget, we had Manny Diaz, who was the former mayor of Miami, and he talked about how the artists really are the first ones to go into an area and truly transform it, because they're creatives, and so they can go in and they can do murals, and they're not afraid to live in places that are a little bit more abandoned and need some TLC, and then all of a sudden they can start building it up, and it becomes, to your point, a destination, and it starts drawing in not only the tourism and the economic dollars, but now all of a sudden, to your point, it brings in new housing developments, and so it really can transform. And I think that's the power that you're talking about with art, that is sometimes overlooked in terms of the transformation capability it has for a whole city and a community.
Right, absolutely. And it shows the need actually, or what we should see as the need to invest dollars in that development because it has a good return economically and for the quality of life for the community that you're in. Our goal, of course, is to help our students learn how to invest themselves and their art, the power of their art, back into our local culture as they grow, and as they learn to use the power of their art. To do more than just, make a big name for themselves or make a lot of money, which we all know that's hard to do anyway, but we want them to be able to influence their community in those ways to create better quality of life.
Go ahead and talk about the education side and the Academy of the Arts and the different things that you have from a programmatic standpoint.
Okay. We do have an Academy of the Arts, just opened a new space that will accommodate, allow us to grow to about 12 to 1,400 students just with private instruction and class instruction. So we do every musical instrument you can think of with private instrument, including songwriting and all of those kind of things, as well as visual art with drawing, painting, sculpting, mixed media, photography, all of those kind of things. And then we do musical theater. So those are our matter of fact, we've got a group of our musical theater students that were supposed to go to Europe to Junior Theater Festival. But of course, COVID cut that off this past May, but are anticipating going this coming May as a follow-up trip. But then we have an advanced training program for high school juniors, seniors that we're actually trying to get a dual enrollment accreditation for with Motlow, our community college here, that is very leadership development oriented. So leadership development, character development, entrepreneurship, marketing, event planning, all of those tools that artists need to have in their toolbox in order to be successful either locally or regionally or even beyond that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, is that it goes beyond the artistry, the creativity, because that's one piece of it, but it's learning how to become an entrepreneur, a business owner, and running it as a business, because that's the key, obviously, to success.
Right.
Carry that forward in terms of just how COVID-19 has impacted you, because as you mentioned, not only the trip, but obviously with everything going on, how has COVID-19 impacted everything that you're doing?
Slowed things down significantly, of course. Even this week, as I mentioned earlier, we've got a little artist cafe that's kind of our front porch in the Depot district there. And we had one of our cafe employees who tested positive for COVID, and we're currently shut down because we have to do all the deep cleaning and had to have everybody tested. Thankfully, it's isolated to that one employee, and so we should be able to open quickly. But it's been it's been an interesting ride for sure. Of course, we had just opened up our academy space, which I'm sitting in. And in March, I mean, literally the week before the shutdown happened, we had our ribbon cutting on that Thursday and had to immediately jump to trying to do things virtually. And thankfully, we were able to make that switch fairly quickly, and our instructors adapted, and the platforms and stuff made it pretty easy to continue in some form. It's very difficult to do it musically, with the latency and those kind of things. But thankfully, we've been able to move forward, and we now are having opportunity to bring people back in house and offer some things that we weren't able to offer before, quite honestly, because we've got the technology to do it now. So long term, it looks like it may actually be a really good thing for us.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, is what's something that, as you look at coming out of this, what's going to make you stronger? And obviously leveraging technology is one piece of that. Is there anything else that you think, hey, this is something that we're learning in this process that ultimately is going to make us stronger?
Well, we've had to solidify our processes, with it's given us time actually to solidify enrollment processes and those kind of things, just our general operating. So I think looking back, I'm going, okay, I'm seeing some of these things emerge And so, it'll be interesting a year from now to look back and go, okay, what changes did we see that are positive, that that it forced us to look at, that we might not have looked at had it not been that we had to because of COVID.
Sure. Give us some success stories. So when you talk about students and the impact they have and, coming out of your programs and kind of creating change on their end, what does success look like? Maybe paint a picture.
Okay. We've had one of our students a few years back as a finalist on American Idol. Colton Dixon was one of our previous students. Matter of fact, our instructor that is still an instructor was his piano instructor, and basically forced him to sing while he was trying to learn to play, because that's his instructor's his approach. And he didn't want to do it, but followed through. And of course, everything he's gone back to that instructor and gone, thank you for helping me get to where I am. Then we had another young lady who's a visual artist who during COVID-19 started doing as a thing with her art to engage people, started doing sidewalk chalk art.
Yeah.
And started doing some in her neighborhood, and did one for her cousin that was came out the same day as the sequel to Trolls, and her art was so beautiful. It actually, her dad put it on Twitter, took a picture and put it on Twitter, and it got more hits than DreamWorks hit that particular day, which was their release day. They actually picked it up because it was trending faster than their posts for the movie on Twitter. So she's since gone on to help in Huntsville. Their family has moved there, and she's been engaged with the arts organizations, Chamber of Commerce there already. So there's just a couple,
Yeah, those are good ones. How can we help? How can the community help?
Well, there's always need for a volunteer, okay, because we do tons of events, street fairs, all of those kind of things. And, we always need support, financial support. So we very much have a desire to take our model to other communities, which requires capital. So that's always a need, as you know, with any nonprofit. And the arts, while they are not a heartstrings issue, they really affect the growth of the students that we work with, and their self-esteem and their direction. So we see, even those that don't go into the arts professionally, we see them being more productive in other areas because they're better rounded, okay, and they're able to troubleshoot and those kind of things. So just being able to continue our mission, we just need those things. So.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the ripple effect and the life effect when you talk about the arts, because to your point, sometimes sports gets the majority of that conversation, but the reality is sports isn't for every youth. And so having a creative outlet not only gives them a chance to pour their energy and their passion into something, but to your point, all the life skills that they learn in the process. And you think about discipline, you think about even for musicians and things like that, being on stage, performance, that ties into public speaking and confidence. And so
absolutely,
there's so many things that you learn going through this as an artist that translates over into just personal and professional success through your career, and the confidence building, that it really does create the leaders of tomorrow by going through these programs today.
Absolutely, it does. And one of the things that we've tried to do is help our students engage in local community, giving themselves back, working in tandem with the local government. Okay, is really important. So often, creatives don't get outside their own little bubbles. You know, they're so focused on their creation that they're not getting outside and learning to work with. So thus our interest in helping the Rutherford Arts Alliance develop and taking our influence, hopefully beyond just our town, to a full a county initiative, and creating infrastructure across our county, working with municipalities and those kind of things to help develop arts initiatives for their specific municipalities.
Yeah.
But the connectivity across the county that hopefully will make that even more effective.
Absolutely. We'll wrap up with contact information, website, social media. Where do we go to learn more and get involved?
Sure. www.carpeartista.com. Lots of information there. We're very active on social media with Carpe Artista Facebook page, Carpe Cafe Facebook page. If you're ever driving through, it's a great little artist cafe with great coffee, small batch roasters coffee, and all those kind of things, and local art and live music, and then Twitter also, and Instagram. We're all there. So just love to see you.
Yeah, you make it easy. So, and you always have me with coffee. That's always for sure. So, Ron, thank you for all you and your team do. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you, Jeremy, for having us on it. Appreciate it.